Hi friends, my name is Katie. Welcome back to my channel, Life Between Words. It is the end of July, and so I'm here to do my July wrap-up, and I'm also going to be wrapping up the books I read for Booktubeathon. Compared with the month of June, I read a lot again, and I attribute that mostly to Booktubeathon because it forced me to read 4 books. I also want to say I'm feeling so much better. Antibiotics do wonders. Very grateful for antibiotics. So yeah, let's just get started. I'm going to try and move quickly because these tend to be so long and I don't know how to make them shorter and still make my discussion about the books meaningful. But I'm gonna attempt it. I started off the month by reading Still Life by Louise Penny. This is a mystery book. I absolutely adored this first installment of the Armand Gamache mystery series. I historically haven't been a huge mystery reader, but every mystery that I've read I've really enjoyed, so I might become a much bigger mystery reader. My dad loves mysteries, and so I feel like it's in my blood a little bit. But this one was excellent. I know Kate Howe has talked about this book a lot, this series a lot, and so has Anne Bogle from The Modern Mrs. Darcy. The writing is very literary. The characters are so well drawn and lovable. The setting is so cozy, but the mystery itself is very hard-boiled, and you fall in love with the inspector, Armand Gamache, who is from Montreal, but then the mystery surrounds a death that happens in this little town in Quebec called Three Pines, and if Three Pines were a real place, I'd want to live there. Minus the murders, because I'm pretty sure every subsequent book happens in Three Pines as well, so for such a tiny town, there's a lot of violence. But anyway, I absolutely loved it. I can't wait to continue with the series. Then I picked up Before the Fall by Noah Hawley. This was my Book of the Month Club pick from June, but I decided to read it in July. This is a thriller that surrounds a plane crash in which there are only 2 survivors. It was a small chartered private plane and everyone on board dies except for a little boy and then another aspiring artist. Funny that I read 2 books with aspiring, struggling artists in them, but this was a fantastically rendered thriller. It's very popular this summer. I'm seeing it or hearing about it in lots of different places. And I really enjoyed it. Kept me on the edge of my seat in just the right ways, was thrilling but not scary. Noah Hawley has won some Emmys. I know he was behind the show Fargo, the TV show Fargo, which he won some awards for, and he's been a part of some other TV productions that have been highly acclaimed. So anyway, I was really impressed with the writing. I just thought this was a great thriller. I actually haven't read too many thrillers. Gone Girl might be the only other sort of straight-up thriller that I've ever read, so I don't have a lot to compare it to, so because I don't feel like I'm an expert on thrillers, I'm not sure I can say, oh, this is the best thriller I've ever read. But I can tell you that I was left very satisfied. I really enjoyed the trip that this book took me on. Okay, and then we get to the Booktubeathon. Now, I read 4 books during the Booktubeathon. The first book that I'm going to talk about, I started it before Booktubeathon and got about halfway, and that is The Help. I listened to this on audiobook, and I started it at the beginning of the month when my family took a trip up to northern Michigan. Then we came back, Booktubeathon started, and I continued listening to it over the course of the week when I was in my car, and I feel really behind the times because I listened to them on compact disc, CDs, and not on my phone, and I don't have a CD player in my house, so I was limited to listening to it in the car, which is the only place that I've got a CD player. The Help was a reread for me. I really enjoyed it the first time, and I really enjoyed it the second time. I think most people are probably familiar with The Help. It's about a young woman named Skeeter and these 2 maids that she connects with, Aibileen and Minnie, who come together and decide to write a book about these black maids' experience working as maids for white families in the South. This is a book that I love because I love the characters so much. I love Aibileen for her heart, I love Minnie for her sass, and I love Skeeter's resolve and integrity to stand up for what's right. Every one of the characters that we get to know and love anyway, those three main characters, has something to lose by pursuing this endeavor, and they are all brave for different reasons. I feel like Minnie and Aibileen obviously have the most to fear in terms of their personal safety, but Skeeter also has to fear the loss of her reputation, the loss of her friendships, perhaps even her family. They're all brave women, and I just really enjoyed this book, and I really, really enjoyed listening to it on audiobook. I loved that format for this book, especially the way that this audiobook was presented. Every chapter was read by the character from whose point of view it was being told. So Aibileen had a voice, Minnie had a voice, and Skeeter had a voice. And interestingly, Octavia Spencer, who played Minnie in the movie, also played Minnie in this voiceover for the book. So this book I read for the challenge in Booktubeathon to read a book and then watch its movie adaptation, so I watched The Help, although I really only watched half of it, but I'm counting it, people. During Booktubeathon, I also read The Rose and the Dagger, which fulfilled the challenge of reading a book with yellow on the cover. Obviously, this looks mostly blue, but there is a little bit of yellow in the corner. This is the second book in the Wrath and the Dawn duology. I really enjoy this duology. I don't love it as much as a lot of people do. I found it well done. It just doesn't stick with me the way it sticks with a lot of other people. A lot of people love the romance, a lot of people love the writing, they think it's really flowery. I mean, the writing is fine, there's nothing bad about the writing. I don't find it spectacular, but it's not bad. I love the setting. I love the Arabian setting of this book. Like I said, for me, the weakness is really just in the sticking power of the story, and that's totally personal preference. That's all to say, though, I really did enjoy this. It's not like I disliked it at all. Anyway, I'm gonna move on because I don't need to go on and on about this. I enjoyed it, and that's that. Next, I read Lizzie Bright and the Buckminster Boy by Gary Schmidt. I have talked about Gary Schmidt before. I think I read Orbiting Jupiter a month or two ago. I said then, and I'll say again, that Gary Schmidt is one of my favorite middle grade authors, although I think Orbiting Jupiter is technically YA, and I will say that all of his books are sort of borderline middle grade YA. I put them like advanced middle grade. They deal with themes and characters that tend to be a little more adult, but I would be comfortable letting my, 10 to 12-year-old read this book, depending on their sensitivity level. This is about a little boy named Turner Buckminster who moves with his family to Maine. His father is a minister, and immediately upon arrival, it's very clear that the town has its own agenda for having hired this minister. They want him to back their plan to remove all of these people from this island right off the coast so that they can turn this town into a resort town, because the mining that goes on there, or the shipping, anyway, the industry that the town relies on is dying, and they need to find another way to earn revenue. It takes place at the turn of the 20th century. Turner makes friends with one of the girls on this island named Lizzie Bright. It's about their friendship and also the events that transpire because of this town's nefarious agenda. It left me really brokenhearted. All of Gary Schmidt's books deal with hard things that feel very real to life, a lot of tragedy, but there's always hope. I will say that I found this book the most tragic of all his books, and that's saying something because they all have made me cry. They have all made me shed at least one tear, and this book was absolutely no exception. But it was brilliantly, brilliantly written, as all of his books always are. They are very high quality middle grade literature, and if you've never read a Gary Schmidt book, I highly, highly, highly recommend picking up one of his books. My favorite is The Wednesday Wars, but they're all good. And finally, I finished off Booktubeathon by finishing up A Monster Calls, which I read after sunset. That was the challenge that this one fulfilled. It was a great book for that challenge, and just a great book in general. I don't really want to say too much about this book because it's so short, and anything I say gives elements away in the book that I feel are best left for the reader to find out on their own. But I will say that this was another very tragic book. It was very thought-provoking, and also very true to the human experience. Obviously, there's some fantastical elements to it because this monster is a real character and that doesn't really happen in real life, but what the monster represents is very true to our experience. Once again, Patrick Ness blew me away with the quality of his writing and the themes that he deals with and his empathy. I just really adored this book. And then finally, I finished up James Herriot's All Creatures Great and Small. This is a book that I meant to finish last month and then didn't, just things kept getting in the way, but I will say that I absolutely loved it. I was supposed to be reading this with a read-along with Kate Howe that she put together, and I'm very sad to say that I haven't been participating because I'm far behind, and they read the second book this month, and I was still on the first, unfortunately. But I was savoring every moment because this book is just so... it's just so heartwarming. It's the memoirs of James Herriot, who was a country vet in northern England in Yorkshire, which is where my great-grandmother is from, so in some ways it's very close to my heart because I'm getting a glimpse into her childhood, and that is really special to me. I find the antics in this book hilarious. There were so many moments in this book that I laughed out loud because they were so funny. And it was just really poignant and funny, and these characters that are like bigger than life, but also feel real. I don't know, I've really been enjoying this. I can't wait to start the second book, even though I'm, obviously too far behind to really catch up to the read-along, but I'm just gonna read them on my own because I love them. So those are all the books that I read in the month of July. I hope that you guys all had a great reading month. I really love you all. I'm very close to 2,000 subscribers and I just can't believe it. And this has become such an important part of my life in terms of like fulfilling things that I love and meeting new bookish people, and it's just been so great. Let me know what your favorite book that you read this month was. I read a lot of good books this month. I'm not sure I can even pick a favorite. Maybe Still Life and All Creatures Great and Small. And A Monster Calls. I don't even know. So anyway, I will talk to you guys later. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and that's all. Bye.